Alright, fuck it. I'm starting early. What's up, guys? I'm in quite a bit more of a serious mood today than I was even last time, because last time I was talking chiefly about Israel-Palestine, but the situation had only just begun to sort of unfold there. Um, and, well, now it seems like it's not just unfolding, it's unraveling, and all sorts of terrible things are going down. Last time, where I left off in Pokemon, I just caught Abra, I just caught Whismur. What did you just drop into? Well, it's Pokemon, but I just want to give a quick rundown of the situation in-game so I can get to the meat of the matter, which is politics. Urgent politics. Unfortunately, not of the kind that anybody in our position, being in a Western country outside of the conflict, is in an especially good place to do anything about. You know, a lot of the developments that I'm going to be talking about are seems like they would have happened whether we were involved in, like, protest and lobbying or not. But regardless, they are happening, oh, oops, sorry, that's a video I was editing. Let me close that out. The war continues to rage in Gaza, in Palestine broadly, in Israel, just in that region. It seems like there's conflict all the time, but especially now. I've been following the situation live. Things have only gotten worse. There have only been more civilian casualties, more apartments flattened, etc., etc. Yeah, big sad hit. And apparently, as the title of the stream indicates, Israel wanted this to happen. They knew it was coming. So, I saw this from a Twitter account, but I made sure to confirm it. We have here from Ragip Soylu. This is a Turkish journalist, I believe. His bio says Turkey bureau chief for Middle East Eye. And I made sure to confirm what he's about to say has been confirmed by the New York Post and the Times of Israel, as well as, I think, the Jerusalem Post. Not the most reputable newspapers out there, and they definitely, you know, with their right-wing bend, they framed it in a way that's more sympathetic to Israel. But nonetheless, breaking. Egyptian intelligence minister called Netanyahu 10 days before the Hamas attack and warned him of, quote, something unusual, a terrible operation that was about to take place in Gaza. Egyptians were, quote, surprised by the indifference shown by Netanyahu, end quote. Yadioth Aronoth? I believe that would be the, who this is attributed to? This is a thread, it seems. Netanyahu's office denied the Egyptian party's claim, saying that the report of a warning that came from Egypt before the outbreak of the war is incorrect and false. We know that it's not false. It's been verified by different news outlets, one of which being within Israel itself. This is just Netanyahu talking shit. Netanyahu's office of prime minister has not spoken or met with the Egyptian intelligence chief since the formation of the government, neither indirectly nor directly. Senior Israeli political official on the Egyptian report. Not only was there no message to the contrary, the Egyptians pressed in favor of Hamas and increased the quota of workers and act for the civilian relief. This is an example of doublespeak. They said the Israeli government here is saying two contradictory things. Number one is Egypt did not contact us at all, did not have any contact with us beforehand. And then number two, Egypt was actually egging on Hamas, which they would have had to be in contact with Egypt to understand this, to know this. So you cannot have one and also have the other. But if I go back into my search history here a little ways, here we go. New York Post. Egyptian intelligence official says Israel ignored warnings of, quote, something big. Here we go. Let me see if I can't find a source on this. Yeah, actually, if I go back to the search, we have the Times of Israel, the New York Post, the Daily Kos, India Today is reporting this. If India Today confirms this, and that's really damning, because India, I don't know if you know this, but India is very, very pro-Israel by virtue of how much they hate Muslims. So if India is even saying, yeah, they got the call and didn't do anything about it, I think that basically confirms that this is real. Now, a report by the news agency Associated Press. Oh, it's over. Okay, it's real. If the Associated Press was reporting this, then that means it's definitely real. Yeah. So now that's all over and done with, why? Why did Israel ignore these warnings when Egypt gave them? Why did Israel dismiss this out of hand? The reason is more simple than you might initially think. A lot of people succumb to this this trap where they sort of assume that politics is always very complicated. And let's be clear that on the logistical level, on a descriptive level, and understanding the situation as it now exists, and in terms of like technocratic concerns around, well, how do we construct this and this policy? Politics is always complicated. There's never like a simple solution. However, politics as a debate around moral standards and ethics is not very complicated. This is what I would call informed simplicity. Israel is just evil. The state of Israel, I mean no slander to any of the citizens in Israel necessarily, unless they are like abhorrent people who want to kill all Palestinians, but the state of Israel, its government, is evil. And the reason that Israel received this call and then ignored or downplayed these warnings, or rather were indifferent to the warnings, as the tweet thread reported from that Turkish fella, is because Israel was sort of waiting for an excuse. Israel has been conducting an ethnic cleansing in Palestine for 70 years. Ever since the State of Israel was established, they have been further pushing into Palestinian territory and, quartering them off from any outside assistance, any outside help, driving people mad in the thousands, driving people to the point of doing terrifying things, unthinkable things, irrational things. And I think Israel was just waiting for an excuse to sort of push the envelope. Things were they were slow. They were almost painfully slow, I guess, from the perspective of Israel. They wanted to eradicate the Palestinians a little bit quicker. So when they get wind of an impending attack from Hamas, that instead of them having the opportunity to stop the attack before it occurs, or to, God forbid, de-escalate and stop, committing an ethnic cleansing, instead the government under Netanyahu saw that as an opportunity to claim victim status, almost like the United States did after 9/11, and to then go into Gaza and, well, not going to mince words, to conduct a mass slaughter of civilians that just happened to be Palestinian, and that is the reason why they want to kill them. It really is like, there really isn't that complicated of an explanation for this, other than there are so many Hitler particles in the Israeli government right now. There's a lot of Hitler particles in Hamas as well. They're an Islamic Jihad group. What would you expect? But they're not the only one fighting this fight. All of Palestine is considered the enemy by Israel. The Israeli government has declared war against Palestine. And Netanyahu gleefully posted a video to Twitter. Here we have the Irish Socialist Party quote tweeting him with some thoughts that I sympathize with. I translated the tweet earlier, but I'll translate it again. We started is where Israel will win, and the footage here is of residential buildings being destroyed, bombed, and things like that. It continues for over a minute. I'm not going to play the full thing. You guys get the idea. I don't want to run into something that's even more TOS than what I've already showed. The desire to fight Israel here, let me be clear. The desire to fight Israel on the part of any Palestinian group is completely justified. It almost doesn't even need a justification if you want to fight Israel, the state. Now, killing civilians is in no way justifiable. This is where I would do the obligatory condemnation of Hamas and the Islamic Jihad group. Yeah, India's actually the most discriminating country in the world. Took a weird amount of time to find that word in my mind. Yeah, India really, really heavily discriminates against ethnic minorities, against like caste minorities, against religious minorities, and currently they have a nationalist party in power. And so they love Israel. They love Israel because Israel is the apartheid state that India wishes it could be. But it also came to my attention recently, in addition to the fact that, Israel had actually planned for this possibility. They got impending news of the Hamas attack 10 days before it occurred, and elected to let it happen and simply do retaliatory strikes against Palestinians in the Gaza Strip. It is not just Hamas fighting here. That came to my attention. There is also, apparently, there are more militant groups than just them fighting the IDF. One of them being the PFLP, the People's Front for the Liberation of Palestine. They now I'm gonna preface this by saying that, like, as far as membership of militant groups, the DFLP and the PFLP, the two groups that I believe are more justified in what they are fighting for and the tactics they use, they are in the minority, but I don't think that their presence should at all be discounted here. The PFLP, I saw a report from Al Jazeera. The PFLP is actually fighting, I believe, with Lebanon. Yeah, here we go. It mentions them in this news article here. They're not very big, but the branches of existing militant factions of Palestinians in Lebanon, one of them being Hamas, but the other being the PFLP, and also Fatah, which I believe is like the current Palestinian government or something like that. They're not big enough to sustain a war effort against Israel on their own. And I should add that neither is Hamas, really. The Israeli security apparatus is far, far too big for any combination of Palestinian militant groups to handle on their own. They would need outside help. And not just, like, Iranian outside help, either. I have no doubt that Iran is, like, I don't know, in talks with Hamas at the very least, whatever, but Iran is not the driving force here. It is Israel. Israel has, at the end of the day, the ultimate power over whatever happens within the land they dictate to be Israel. They have the biggest stick, and they are very liberal about swinging it how they please. And Iran has never been in an especially advantageous position to stop them from doing that. That is no more the case today than it was last year, the year before that, the year before that, the decade before that, etc. That is the situation on the ground in Palestine. I hold out some vain hope in the back of my mind that the DFLP and the PFLP, the Democratic and People's Liberation Fronts for Palestine, can gain some sort of ground or standing here in this assault. And that they are the ones that eventually come to the forefront. But unfortunately, it seems like that is not going to be the case. And if I'm being realistic, the one place that I think that this can lead, I think I was, unduly optimistic with prescribing what should happen, or even, in some cases what could happen. It looks like the United States is remaining resolute in its support for Israel, even as Israel greases the wheels for genocide more and more, and brags about leveling civilian apartment buildings in Gaza. To put it bluntly, I think Israel is going to get the genocide that they wanted. Ganked and spanked. Yeah. Welcome to chat, and yes, that is what I think is going to happen here. I don't see any other possible outcome at this stage. And to any Palestinians that there might be out there, you have to admit there's a difference between bombing a house and hitting civilians. Yes, I do have to admit that there is a difference. However, there is no difference if the civilians are still in the house. Hope that helps. And then beheading and raping civilians. Yes, and to be clear, I do not condone Hamas's actions in that respect at all. I've seen the videos. But what's going on right now is that Israel, there's a massive imbalance of power. And Israel has all the power. Hamas, for lack of a better way of putting it, is flailing more or less incoherently, doing like any war crime they can get their hands on, while Israel, like I explained earlier, you might not have been here for this since you just joined chat, Israel knew of the Hamas attack 10 days in advance because of the Egyptian intelligence minister called them. The report that I saw initially was pretty sketchy, but I then confirmed that is really what happened. The Associated Press was reporting on it. Israel knew that Hamas was going to do those things that you just described, and they decided, instead of stopping Hamas, we will instead let this happen. Presumably, the only reasonable presumption would be because they wanted a pretext to be able to invade the Gaza Strip and bomb the civilian apartment buildings that, videos have been circulating about on social media. And I don't know if you were here, again, I showed a video where Netanyahu said, we started, Israel will win, over a video of several apartment buildings in the Gaza Strip being leveled by Israeli strikes. So we have two groups full of Hitler particles, and one of them holds all the cards right now. And that group is Israel. Hamas doesn't hold really any cards. The hell, they had to drop, their air force consists of a few drones and a guy sitting on a chair with a paraglider. Are you kidding me? What country would not retaliate in this situation? A country that didn't want to commit genocide, right? And when you say retaliate, 5,000 rockets, probably 1K dead. Of course people are fucking dead. Are you kidding me? Okay, I don't think you properly understand the situation here. Israel has been occupying Palestine for more than 60 years. More than 70 years. Before Hamas, it was the PLO. Before the PLO, it was somebody else. I don't know, too much about the history in that region. There's always going to be militant resistance in Palestine if you do what Israel has been doing. They've been driving people to suicide, to murder. They've been giving them no way out. And you're saying, oh, what is Israel gonna do? Not retaliate? Yes! That is exactly what I expect out of Israel. You cunt. No, they don't. They have 2 members in the Knesset. I read a report on that yesterday. The Muslim politicians in the Knesset are as mad at this as I am, probably more so, because they've had to experience this firsthand. You have the rights of a citizen. Muslims in Israel are second-class citizens. They have to have separate license plates. They have to go through checkpoints. They cannot go where they please. You are the oppressor here. You are the Hitler in this situation. I even said, there are 2 Hitlers, one of them holds all the cards. You are part of the side that is holding all the cards, and you're saying, what am I supposed to do? Not genocide the Palestinians? Yes, that is what you're supposed to do, you dumbass. What happened to the... Oh, you're gonna whataboutism this now? You're gonna whataboutism, huh? That's not addressing my argument, you dumb fuck. I'm really not in the mood for this right now. Have a timeout. I'm sorry, man. I didn't ban him. I don't want to ban him. He didn't do overt genocide apologia, but I felt like I should stop him just short of that. Jesus Christ. This makes me lose my temper a lot. I genuinely don't understand how there are liberals, which I assume that guy is some flavor of liberal in his political prescription, in Israel, but also in the West, who can look at the violence going on in Palestine and in Israel and just say that Israel is blanket justified in the things that it's doing. That people are dying from a myriad of causes. I saw, videos about this before. I've seen that the Palestinians literally don't have access to food and water. Israel is taking water from them. Water that even on paper, with the even with the international law being so heavily slated towards Israel, it's still not enough for them. They're taking water that's supposed to go to Palestinians. Less than 1 in 10 Palestinians have access to clean drinking water. They're not just dying from mortar attacks, from Israeli strikes, from like bombings and whatever causes. They're dying from starvation, from thirst. They're being exposed to the elements because Israel is using deprivation more than anything as a weapon against Palestine. And people are in here in chat telling me that, like, Palestine is in the wrong and Israel is within its rights to retaliate and destroy civilian apartment buildings. No, I don't accept this. If ever there were proof that no God exists, you know? Whether you believe that or not, I only meant to invoke it as a turn of phrase there. Our old minister president is a liberal too. He's showing how important it is that Israel should be defended at all costs, calm but serious. Yeah, it's disappointing that, you know, I guess it's not especially surprising, the response that a lot of Western nations have taken to this. I remember I saw just yesterday on a CBS News report that the United States is flying the flag at half-staff in solidarity with Israel. So it seems like the West is committed to letting Israel have their genocide and eat it too. Which is a damn shame, because there are millions of people that are gonna be hurt by this. And by the way, even at this stage, this did not have to happen. Even at this latest stage in the game, this was not the worst possible outcome. It might have been the worst, it might have been the only reasonable outcome that could have happened that or be predicted, but there were ways out of this. I think, whatever your thoughts on Vosh, I think he's right when he says that, there is a solution to this conflict. It's going to be painful whatever road we choose, but there is a way out if you do, a two-state solution. You do land swaps, you try to negotiate settlers out of certain regions and relocate people within Israel-Palestine and try to simmer things down, right? That is possible from a policy perspective. These are actionable things that politicians could be writing down on paper and committing themselves to, and using diplomatic influence to try to convince Israel to get on board, or else use sanctions and boycott and divest and etc. But that's not what's happening. And it seems like the international community doesn't have terribly much interest in making that happen. You know, last time, somebody was in chat, that guy Akashi, shoutouts to that guy. And he was saying that, peace is not possible, or, he's not interested in peace offerings. Something to that degree. And at the time, I was thinking, yes, bro, the people who got the Nobel Prize for Peace working with Palestine, trying to get some stuff done, are all gone now. Fuck, man. Somebody who was in chat last time was saying that, they're not interested in peace offerings, I think is close to what they said. I don't remember exactly, but it was something like that. Some have been killed. Yeah, Israel. There's even the worse parts of that in a minute that if you can even believe it. And I think now, even just a day out, I think they're right. I think, I think that peace isn't an option here. I think it's I don't think Palestinians have any obligation to be interested in peace right now, because Israel has clearly shown that they're not interested. So, And it seems like just the one last thing, and then I'll get to the, Nobel Peace Prize and the other thing that I wanted to mention. It seems like the Western media has also been, not terribly interested in extending any charitability to the Palestinians. All the interviews that I've seen with Palestinian protesters and with pro-Palestine protesters outside of Palestine, with Palestinian government officials and journalists and whatever, have all started with the interview were saying, do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? Do you condemn Hamas? It's not enough that you say, war crimes are bad. Do you condemn Hamas specifically? Basically trying to pigeonhole them into this role that doesn't really exist, where they are simultaneously like on the receiving end of Israel's military force, and also somehow at fault for their own oppression. And you know, I don't think people have any obligation to engage with that framing. And it seems like, you know, from the interviews that I've seen, that people are wise to this, because they've been in this discussion for much longer than I have. And that, you know, I can only imagine you hear that question so many times and you just want to lose it. Israel's still a very dangerous enemy, especially if they get all the help they could get. The Russian-Ukrainian war has a lot of losses and destruction, but at least Ukraine ain't a winning psycho. Winning danger. Yeah, and I think that, like, people only need to look to the Ukraine-Russia conflict if they need any sort of moral instruction on what the case is here. It's just that the Russia-Ukraine war has only been going on for about a year, and then this has been, or actually longer than a year, it's like a year and a half, and then this has been going on for decades. You know, you have a larger, more powerful nation, Russia, or in this case Israel, that is aggressing on its smaller neighbor, Ukraine, or in this case Palestine, with the intent of absorbing them and doing God knows what to the people living there. Granted, the socioeconomic circumstances of each of these countries is a bit different, but the core elements are the same, and the moral positions should be the same. You know, if you support Ukraine because it's bad for a bigger country to invade its neighbor, or just countries to invade their neighbors in general, then you should support Palestine. You shouldn't defend Israel when this is happening. And that doesn't mean you should support Hamas either. So many people make that sort of campus tribalist mistake. 1 2/3 of a year. Yeah, that's right. It's been like a year and 8 months. Been going on for a while now. But I saw Israel has declared its intention for a ground invasion of Gaza. Here, hold on. Yeah, here we go. Look at this. Look how insane Israel is here. Oh, oops. Israeli army. This is 49 minutes ago. Israeli army says attacks on Gaza will continue even if harm reaches captives. The Israeli army radio has reported that military airstrikes on Gaza will continue even if that bombardment threatens the lives of Israeli captives. Attacks on the Gaza Strip will be carried out powerfully and widely, even at the cost of harming Israeli hostages who are in captivity in Gaza. This is a quote from the Israeli military. The report, however, clarified that Israeli forces would avoid attacking areas where intelligence indicates captives are being held. I sincerely doubt they care that much. You know, obviously, I think there's a matter of course to be introduced where, you know, Israel says, like, well, of course we're not going to bomb the areas where our people are, but the fact that they're willing to still bomb Gaza and still invade Gaza and be like, yeah, well, we don't fully know where all the hostages are, and maybe they get hurt too, but we don't really care. I think that's indicative of the moral character of the actors that we're dealing with. I think, you know, the activity of or the act of taking captives in a war is less morally condemnable, certainly, than killing people. In fact, it's less of something that I would feel the need to condemn or even comment upon. But in this case, it seems like Hamas is doing that because it's the only leverage they have. And now Israel is saying, nah, just kidding. You don't even have that leverage. We'll kill our own citizens if it means that we eradicate Palestine faster. Christ, man. It's about the only, that's really all I had to inject on the situation. To recap, Israel was planning this assault in advance, or was planning for this assault in advance by Hamas. They wanted it to happen so that they would have a pretext to invade Gaza. I learned that Hamas is not the only active militant group fighting against Israel currently. There are also some better orgs. The PFLP and the DFLP are Marxist, Leninist, and Maoist respectively, which I have disagreements with. That on another day I might call them tankies, but their goals are certainly much better for Palestine than either Hamas or Israel. So in this case, I think I would support their mission. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like they have a lot of power. It looks like Israel is eager to commit their genocide. The West is willing to let them. And, you know, Israel doesn't even care if its own citizens get in the way. Not that much, anyways. And I think I will leave my initial assessment there. I have the live updates page open in another tab, and I'm going to periodically check on that as the stream continues. I'm going to be honest. I didn't have any other politics planned for this stream. But you know, I think this alone should be enough for this stream. It certainly is enough for my conscience.